Hi everyone, this is Park Avenue, and today I wanted to present to you my wine picks for wine gifts. And what I'll do is I'll go into depth with each and every one of them so you can get a better understanding of the wine and just wine in general, because we're on a journey. All right, so the first wine is called Cochon Volant, and I will bring it closer to you so you can see. Has a nice playful label. So this is a wine from the 2017 vintage and my actual first with this wine. It is from the Corbieres appellation, which is also a region in the Languedoc-Roussillon region in southern France. I'll say it again. Corbieres is a wine appellation, what is also a region in the Languedoc-Roussillon region in southern France. Now, Corbieres, they're mostly known and mostly grow red grapes. So you get a lot more red wine, but they also make a little bit of white and rosés as well. The main grapes that they grow in Corbieres are Syrah, Mourvedre, Grenache, and palate, but also some Carignan as well. Now, in France, there's rules. Not for, there's rules overall for wine, but some regions have more rules than others. So, for example, in Corbieres, their wines are blends for the most part. And when you make a red wine from Corbieres, you have to use Syrah, Mourvedre, palate, and Grenache, and that has to be, those red grapes has to be at least 50% of the blend. But that's not saying that you have to use all four of those, but you have to use a combination or at least one of them, and it has to comprise at least 50% of the blend. And then if you use Carignan, that can be no more than 50%. I know that's a lot, but that's just the way it is. So with that said, let's see what's actually in Cochon Volant. So on this wine, it's 40% Carignan, it's 30% Syrah, and 30% Grenache. So see, they didn't go over the 50% Carignan, and with the Grenache and Syrah, they hit that 50% minimum. So what does all that mean? Let's see. So we'll start with Carignan, since that has the most. Carignan is a red grape, and it's a very tannic grape that has mostly red fruit notes. Red fruits such as strawberry, raspberry, cherry, etc. Syrah, that's a red grape as well. And with Syrah, you get more of dark fruits on that. Tannins are also pretty up there as well. Grenache. Grenache is another red grape. And with Grenache, you get mostly red fruits as well. So, theoretically, with this wine, you're supposed to get more red fruits and a lot of tannins. Now, when I actually tasted it, the tannins is definitely on point. I mean, you get a lot of tannins. It's enough where it's drinkable, but you also, how can I put it? It's not too high where it's drinkable, but it's enough where you notice it. But I wouldn't say that you totally need food for it. But yeah, so you get a lot of tannins, but also I noticed there's a lot of dark fruits. So in actuality, the Syrah is really shining here. So let me recap. When I tasted this wine, I get a lot of dark fruits, a lot of tannins, but also get some floral as well, some violet. And to me, it seems like the Carignan and the Syrah are really shining through on this wine, and it's just beautiful. This wine is actually $15. I think it's a great value, and is different from the norm, if you ask me. So highly recommended. Oh, but also this wine is organic. So it's organic, it's different, 15 bucks. That's pretty hard to beat right there. So this is definitely, you know, a great pick right here and a great find. And actually I found this through this store that I work for, which I won't name. Maybe in the future though, I'll let you know. All right, so the second wine that I have here is actually a white wine. Oh, you know what? Let me backtrace. So in Corbieres, you will not find a sweet wine. This is a dry wine region. So when you see Corbieres, think dry wine. Sorry, sweet people. Sorry, but this is not for you. But it's okay. There's other regions for you. Okay, so we'll proceed. Second wine. This is a white wine, which is pretty evident to me, but it's okay if not everyone can notice that. It's a white wine, and we'll go from top to bottom. First, I'll show you. I'll give you a little visual of the wine. What have you. So, to me, it's pretty evident that this wine costs a little more just looking at it in general. And it actually is. This is a $30 wine here. And we'll start from top to bottom. So this is called the Domaine de la Taille or Loups. It's from the 2016 vintage. It also says Montlouis sur Loire, Clos, Michet. So what does all this mean? So Domaine de la Taille or Loups is actually the chateau, or like the brand name. 2016 is obviously the vintage, which is actually the year that the grapes were harvested. Montlouis sur Loire. Now, Montlouis is an appellation, but also a region in the Loire Valley of France. The Loire Valley is a more northern region. And it stretches from the Atlantic Ocean to more eastern France. So it's a pretty long valley. And Montlouis is pretty much in the middle. There's more to Montlouis and where it's situated, but we won't get into that for this video. You know, we have, you know, much more to talk about before we get there. Yeah, so Montlouis. Montlouis sur Loire is just another name for Montlouis. Same thing. Clos Michet. So Clos Michet is the name of the vineyard of where this wine came from. But it's also like the name for this wine, because some producers, they have names for their wines and they'll use the vineyard name as a name for this particular wine because that's where it came from. So that's what Clos Michet means. There's also a name on here called, there's also something that says Jackie Blow. Now, Jackie Blow is actually the producer of this wine, but we won't get into him till I, you know, get into this wine. So, Montlouis. In France, the way that they label their wines are the region or appellation, and then you're supposed to know the grapes that are grown there. So in Montlouis, the only grape that's actually grown there is Chenin Blanc. So this is a Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is a white wine grape, and in the Montlouis appellation or region is vinified in several ways, from still to sparkling, dry to sweet. Dry means no residual sugar, or not sweet, just so you know we're clear. But this actual wine is a dry, still Chenin Blanc. Now, I tasted this and I was just blown away. It's just simply incredible and my favorite wine out of the three. It's the best Chenin Blanc I've ever had in my life thus far. So the bar has been set. So Chenin Blanc, let's get back to Chenin Blanc. Chenin Blanc is white grape, and its signature note is honey if it's made very well. But some of the other notes that you'll get from Chenin are some white blossom. You'll get stone fruits like peach, apricot. This wine in particular is very rich. It's honeyed. You'll get your apricot, peach, your white blossom, but also some oak notes because Jackie Blow, he ferments this wine in barrels. It's not aged in barrels, but it's fermented in barrels. So it picks up on some of those notes that you get from a barrel. Some of those notes are like vanilla and spice. So there's a little vanilla and spice on this wine. Very, very good value. Just incredible wine, period. So let's get to Jackie Blow or Blot. It's spelled B-L-O-T. And I believe he's French. I'm not very good with pronunciation. So Jackie Blot or Jackie Blow, him and there's another producer called Francois Chedon. They are the leaders in Montlouis. They have been very, I guess, instrumental in helping Montlouis have its own identity. Montlouis is a very small area in the Loire region, and there are other regions that outshine it. So, and Jackie Blot and Francois, they really help Montlouis to have its own, or, you know, have its own light out there in the wine world, which is very difficult to do because there's so much, you know, so many wines out there. But, you know, they're doing some incredible work, and I love this wine. So, Jackie Blow, Domaine de la Taille or Loups, definitely write those names down, and I hope you purchase this wine because you will not be disappointed. It's also organic, so $30, incredible Chenin Blanc. I mean, yeah, you just need to get this because it's incredible. Alrighty, so the last wine, but not least, and an actual encore, is this red wine from Italy, and we'll start from top to bottom, like I've been doing. So it says Vigna. You know what? Let me let you see it up close. So it says Vigna del Sorbo, Fontodi, Chianti Classico, Gran Selezione, and the vintage is 2013. So Vigna del Sorbo means single vineyard. This is Fontodi's single vineyard wine, meaning all of the grapes that are made this wine comes from one single vineyard, which is not really unusual, and it's something that's used to differentiate itself. So it's a single vineyard wine. Fontodi is the producer. Chianti Classico. So, Chianti is an appellation, but also a region in the Tuscany region of Italy, which is part of central Italy. Chianti Classico means that this is from the heart of the Chianti region, which is, so think of a smaller piece of the pie. So this is a smaller area within the Chianti region, and it happens to be the best region or area in Chianti. Gran Selezione. So Italy came up with this top tier level of Chianti Classicos, and they called it Gran Selezione. Gran Selezione has its own set of rules to be considered a Gran Selezione. And one of that is that the wine must be aged at least 30 months. Now, that doesn't mean that it has to be aged for 30 months in a particular vessel. It's just that it has to be aged 30 months. Another requirement is that the wine has to be at least 13% alcohol. And let's see if the alcohol at least, well, it should, yeah, 14.5. So this is a big wine. Alrighty, so let's go back to Chianti, because I didn't tell you the grape yet. So Italy is another place where you're supposed to know what the grape is depending on the region. In Chianti, they grow several things, but Sangiovese is the #1 grape, or the mostly produced grape. And this actual wine is 100% Sangiovese. But also, Chianti Classico, to be considered a Chianti Classico, the wine has to be at least 80% Sangiovese. So this actually surpasses the requirement. The other 20% can be other red grapes amongst 50 that's listed. I don't know the 50, but I'm sure like Cabernet is probably one of them. All right, so 2013 vintage. So this is an aged wine here. This is the oldest wine that we have out of 3. Remember, the first one's 2017, so pretty new. There's no aging requirements for this one. And neither this one as well. But this one, yeah, definitely aging requirements. And let's see if there's information on the back. So this actual wine, remember, like I said, this one doesn't need to be aged in a particular vessel for 30 months, but this wine is actually aged 24 months in a barrel. So, you know, you're getting some good stuff here. You're going to get some, not only the grape notes, you're going to get some notes that come from the barrel, but also for sitting there for so long. So, with that said, this wine, when I tasted it, I get some aging notes, which are dried fruits, such as like your black currants. I get some notes from the barrel, like your black pepper and some spices. This is being at this high in alcohol, you're also gonna get, there's also some weight to this wine. It's more of a fuller body wine. And it's also very tannic as well. So this wine I would actually recommend for someone who's into, I guess, collecting wines, because it needs some time for the tannins to kind of smoothen out, because it's pretty rough. But also, I would say this is more of a food wine because the tannins are so aggressive. Now, if you don't know what tannins are what gives you that drying effect in the mouth or what have you. And what happens is when you have mature tannins, over time they smoothen out, so they're not as aggressive. And this is what this wine needs. It needs time. So a great collector's item. It costs $70, so it's not cheap, but it's definitely well worth it. Fontodi is one of the best producers in the Chianti region. So now that we've delved into each of the wines, let's go into why these are the perfect wine gift. With wine #1, this is $15, so this is great, you know, if you're on a budget. This is also a great wine for someone who enjoys medium to full body dry red wines. It's also great for someone who doesn't mind a little challenge on their palate. Like I said, this wine, the tannins are evident. I wouldn't say, you know, super drying, but they're there. They let you know. So, this wine would actually be good for food purposes, but it doesn't, you know, it can be consumed by itself. This wine is also good for someone who who's looking for organic wine too. The next wine, now this is overall great wine. It's a crowd pleaser, super easy to drink. If you love white wines, this will be great for you because it doesn't. There's some people who actually don't like the notes of oak, and I feel like the oak that you get on it is not super powerful. So to me, it's just an overall great white wine that, you know, almost any white wine lover would love. And if you have the budget, because this is $30, then, you know, this would be a great option. This is also ageable as well. It's great now. It's very youthful, but in time, this wine will develop some nuttiness to it, so it will evolve and, you know, become a whole nother wine and just still beautiful as well. This last but not least wine is $70. This wine would be great for someone who collects wine because it's definitely ageable. And actually, this wine really needs time because the tannins are very drying, and that's considered is tight. It needs time to smoothen out. This also is a great wine for a person who loves, you know, big wines. Like if a person loves, you know, California Cabernets, this is definitely a great gift for them. Also a person who's into just big names and popular names, you know, Fontodi is one of the top producers in Chianti, so, you know, this will be a great option for them, and it's only $70. Now, as far as where to get these wines, I actually, you know, am very fortunate. I live in a state of New York where we get, you know, where a lot of wine is imported. So we get a lot of things. However, if you're not in the state of New York, there's an online, I guess, Google wine. It's called wine-searcher.com. Well, what you would do is, you know, you would enter the name of the wine. You can even put the vintage, and it'll tell you which stores in your area would have it. If you're not successful with that, because even with that website, there's free options. There's free things, free information that you can get, and information that requires payment. If you're not successful with that, then there's some online retailers that sell wines as well, and one of them is called wine.com. So yeah, these are my wines, and they're all organic, great options, and I can't wait to present some more to you. And actually, my next video will be posted in a week, so definitely subscribe, hit that notification button, and you'll be notified when I present my next video. Thank you.